Looks like it's doing something. Ah, we're live. Awesome. Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Marino, and I'm here with a girl's girl friend of mine and colleague, Ashley Zarmanian.
Hi.
Did I say it correctly? Your last name?
Yes, you did. Yes.
Because I know I'm sure people butcher
Wonder
it.
that one all the time. Yes.
Well, thank you for being here with me today. So this is Recovery Solutions. I haven't done it in a few weeks, and now we're doing it on LinkedIn Live and on Facebook and wherever else Yasmin, my social media girl, social media manager, put it. Ashley and I have developed a professional relationship as well as a personal relationship, and I just was really excited to have you on here. I know we've talked about it for a while, so I'd love to start off by you introducing yourself and what you do.
So I'm Ashley Zarmanian. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I'm also the co-owner of Mangrove Therapy Group. So myself and Brian Gong have a team of clinicians that we've put together with the mission of doing really in-depth therapy with people. So we specialize in trauma and addiction.
I love that. And you have are you from down here?
No, North Carolina originally.
Okay, awesome. You've
Been
been down
here like
a
20
while.
years then.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm born and raised, and I know that you have, before you started your private practice, which I love the work that you all are doing there. Oh, someone just wrote, "Hi, happy to join. Also should have two of my case managers attending. Thanks for doing this." Thank you, David. Hello, Ellen. Just saying, I don't know if you can see the comments on there,
I
Ashley.
can't now.
So I'll be saying hello, and I'll read you questions if anyone has questions for you. So where did you start in your field, in your profession as a clinician? How did this whole thing start for you?
So I was actually working with children with behavioral issues, doing treatment planning for them. And I decided to go back to work and get my master's degree. And I had one professor who just became super invested in me and was amazing. And she suggested that I go and intern at Karen Renaissance.
Okay.
And I was like, personality disorders and addiction, like zero interest in that. I don't want to get to know these people at all. And then I did my first day of my internship there, and the clinical philosophy is just so my personality, and I fell in love day one.
Love that.
And they actually hired me as an intern, 5 months pregnant with my daughter. And
Wow.
yeah, yeah. And I stayed there for 8 years and kind of honed my skills, and then needed to be more involved as a mom. And so went off into private practice. And then Brian Gong and I have been friends for a very long time, and we joined forces, and here we sit.
I love that. I love that. And so your practice is called Mangrove Therapy. You're located in
Mm-hmm.
Velvet Beach, and what
Mm-hmm.
do you guys do there? Like, what? Tell me a little bit more of like how you and Brian started it, and what you've grown to, because it's grown since I've met you.
So Brian and I both have this long history in working in addiction. That's both of our background, right? And then Brian got really deep into understanding PTSD, CPTSD, and how to effectively treat trauma, and fell in love with EMDR therapy and convinced me that I should get trained in it as well. And so I did. My specialty that I bring is more understanding the entire person and the process addictions that go along with substance abuse. So I guess I'm known in the field as being an eating disorder specialist, but it's really everything in the gamut of abusable things that are not substances that a person can do to harm themselves. I really want people to have full sobriety and go on and be happy. And Brian and I have that in common. And our caseloads have been overflowing for years. And we just decided it was really important to us to be hands on with training this next generation of therapists that are coming. And so that's what we're doing.
I love that. And you said before we came on that Brian is speaking. I'm just going to give him a quick plug um,
Yeah.
about his presentation.
He's going to speak about navigating trauma and addiction at Karen, at our home, at the Keel Center, the new building that opened on June 2nd.
That's fantastic. I love
I'm so
that.
excited.
Yeah, definitely come out and support Brian and Ashley. So you and I were talking about like all these different things, like of different topics, and we're like, let's like, as if you and I were going to meet for coffee and like chit chat about, what we do, right? So
Mhm.
you've worked in the residential side of treatment. You've worked probably in all the levels of care of, you know, I'm sure you did work in outpatient and all of that. And then now you have
Mhm.
your own private practice. So like, tell me what makes you like passionate about like the treatment process and then the next steps. Like what comes up for you when I talk about that?
Well, I think when you work in agency in residential care, you have to triage getting the person to stop abusing substances, right? It's life or death for them. So you're kind of forced into that. And there are treatment centers that are doing amazing work, but there's not time to get to everything the person's going to need to treat. So actually, going into private practice has been so rewarding for me because I found, like, first of all, I got a lot of my alumni back. So I have a ton of people that I helped get sober 6-7 years ago that now they're navigating a divorce or an eating disorder or whatever's coming up for them. But I've become so passionate about like the rest of the picture with sobriety because it's not just about putting down the substances.
Right.
So at this level of care now it becomes like, oh, but now I'm scared to date and shopping leaves me crying in the dressing room and I don't actually know how to grocery shop for myself and I don't actually know who I am because I've been putting on a front for years.
Yes. And that's something that I think people that aren't in this behavioral health world that we're in, I think that a lot of family members of loved ones believe that like their loved one will go to like this residential treatment center for this whatever length of time and then they're fine. Right. And that's really, like you said, it's like triaging. It's like the emergency room, like detox is like the emergency room. Residential care is like the main core treatment to stabilize. Right. And then that's really when the work begins, is like leaving treatment. Cause like many people, and then we also have come across many people that can do fine in residential treatment and then collapse right when they get outside.
Because it's so structured in residential treatment. So like if I had control over everyone's recovery, which I do not, but if I did, when they complete treatment, I would have them go to some sort of supervised recovery residence, have a case manager, have a therapist, and work a 12-step program because putting down the drugs is really hard, but life after that is also really hard, if not harder.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's like I know often like programs give like this, like, okay, well, here's your aftercare plan, right? That's terrifying, some of that stuff to actually like walk and implement and do by yourself.
Yes.
And that's where a lot of people are like, okay, yeah, I'll do all that stuff. And then they get this plan. And it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And that's where people like us come in. We help them.
Yes.
So I have a comment from Ellen Ingram. She said, truth, Ashley is explaining early sobriety so well. Person in long-term recovery, class of 90.
Thank you.
And Sarah came in and said hello. So yeah, that's where, that's what we know works. Like you and I have talked about, different cases together and we believe in collaboration. And so maybe like where do you feel like we've kind of like missed the beat and where are we like getting better now with the aftercare stuff?
I think recovery residences are really greatly improving. So my early days as a clinician, and this could be because I wasn't networked enough and I didn't know the really good ones, but
oh God, now you're here twice. Hold on. I'm so confused. What's going on? On? Oh yeah, we're still live. Okay.
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
I don't know what just happened, but it's Mercury retrograde and can you hear us now, Sarah? I'm asking Sarah if she can hear us.
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Okay, Dennis Rodriguez. That's why I love being a recovery coaching. Great job, ladies. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Recovery coaching. Okay, yes, Sarah can hear us, so we're official. Okay.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But
All
I'm
I was
like,
saying is that I think these halfway houses, three-quarter houses are getting much better at working with case managers and collaborating with therapists so that we're not overlooking, look, I obviously have a passion for the process addiction. So eating disorders and gambling disorders and spending disorders and sex and love addiction. If we were just putting someone in a room and UAing them and not looking at any of the behaviors, we would be missing so much. So having this whole community fill in those gaps and collaborate well and really good communication is what helps people live.
yes,
I think we're
absolutely.
getting much better at that.
Yeah, I think that, like, I know that when Blake and I started what we're doing, with Next Level, we saw a need. Yes, there's people out there that do this work, right? But there's a lot of old school ways of doing things, and there's also like a lot of people that aren't getting helped, right? So we have to kind of evolve as professionals and evolve with trying to help more people and create lasting change in more people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
And none of us is going to get there with our ego leading the way as a professional. None of us are going to get there thinking that we're the cure all, fix all for a person. Like the collaboration, the making sure the family's getting the piece that, like there's always been like the family week, but like sometimes families need a lot more than that. Like a lot of times, and so being able to like have them have, individual have their own therapist and the halfway house. And then if there's a coach or case manager and the family getting the support, like we're seeing people get better long term.
And I think that's what makes you and Blake so great to work with, though, is that there really is no ego and we're really collaborative. There's no competition. It's like we can all work together and save this person's life is what it should be about.
Yeah. I mean, how many people out there need help that aren't seeking it because they're scared to do it, or they have some kind of judgment, like I get in my inboxes because I have a lot of people connected to me on LinkedIn. I get inboxes all the time of people, scared to like do anything, but they can send a message in a messenger like, hey, and so that's another thing that's evolved. Like, yeah, maybe picking up the really heavy phone, like we used to say, like now you can like message somebody and you can start the process, it doesn't have to be as scary as you think it is, and people get better.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your favorite part about what you do? Like, do you love? I'll just leave it open, and then I'll ask a couple questions after that.
I love when people put some things together. Like when you see them have that moment of like, oh, that coping skill started when I was 5 and that wasn't my fault, but that made sense for me to do that back then. And I don't have to do that anymore. I think those moments where you watch them get what's happened in their life and how it's all come together and implement some changes and start to do things differently. And then they come back to session like so proud of themselves and there's genuine self-esteem is amazing.
That's awesome. But the when you see the shift and the change and the growth, like
Yeah.
and we know it's in there, and the people, we see it, but when you see them see it in themselves and
So cool.
I know, like I actually talked a lot about this past week, but with myself coming from a high level of traumatic childhood, I believe that, and I this was my core belief, people that went through what I went through were destined to be messed up and live really difficult lives. So that was like, I chalked it all up to that. So I'm lucky I'm not living on the corner. I'm lucky I'm not, and this is just the way it is. People that get sexually abused and go through childhood trauma are meant to live messed up lives. And like, no, no. And so like one of my missions in this world is to like get that message out to other women or men or whomever, that just, we don't have to continue to hurt ourselves because we've been hurt,
And I think like I had almost the opposite experience in that there's no big T trauma anywhere in my life. There's nothing major that's happened. It's these smaller moments, well-intentioned parenting, stuff just got missed, whatever. I developed whatever messages I developed and became a person with my own coping skills. And it shows up in my work life and my romantic relationships and my parenting and whatever. It's that CPTSD, the deeper stuff, the work that there is just as important. And people deserve recovery from all of it.
Absolutely. And I had a conversation also with somebody saying, well, this person didn't really have trauma because it was this, this, and this. And I was like,
Yes,
listen,
they did.
tell you as someone with like it could be a Lifetime movie kind of thing, that is trauma. It might not be trauma to you, but it's how whatever they experienced and how they experience it is what they feel inside. And you can't like label that or say that for anybody else.
What they say in this world is like trauma can be defined as anything that's less than nurturing, like anything that hurt emotionally, physically, scared you, made you go on guard a little bit. It's going to show up again until you heal it.
Yeah, definitely. And it does. I remember I used to think I had a false belief, in recovery. I believed that recovery was an ongoing process, like that I had to always like nurture my recovery. But I always thought that trauma, I would put it over here in its box, and then I would be done with it. Like it would be in its place. And then when I finally like went to a trauma intensive a few years ago, and I finally had that aha moment of, oh no, this is also another lifelong journey, and that's okay, and it gets easier. And whenever it comes up, I know where I have the skill set and know what to do. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a journey, and I'm sure you see that with your clients, and what you're saying is like a lot of the people you're working with, it's other things now. Like they got sober, and now what? Right?
Yeah.
And what are those like? I know you said some are eating disorders and some are other things. What are some of those like? What does some of that look like? If you could just describe, like, maybe obviously not individuals specific.
Yeah. They probably wouldn't appreciate that. Yeah. So it's not necessarily always like clinically an eating disorder, but any person who at some point in time was putting a lethal amount of chemicals in their body daily, there's real pain there, right? So yes, it's important for them to cease use, but then you have to go back and look at, how did you get there? What's hurting under there? So a lot of people get sober and they realize like, my parents were really high functioning, and I feel like I don't know what I'm doing in the world and how I'm ever going to make something of myself. Or I have real crippling anxiety that I have trouble getting through the day. Or just like, oh, I got high all through adolescence and no one ever taught me how to like balance my money or grocery shop. And I don't know how to do normal functioning to, okay, I put down substances and now I find myself binge eating or making myself purge or gambling compulsively or wasting all of my paychecks spending at the mall or, whatever it is. There's more compulsive behaviors that come up. It's different for everybody. And sometimes there's 3 or 4 of them.
Absolutely. I mean, and someone just Michael wrote, all people have some sort of issues. I mean, that's definitely
for sure.
Spot on. But like, it is interesting, like when you're dealing with someone who has been to treatment and is in recovery from substance use disorder. Like, I know for myself, when like I'm in 16 years on this journey, and like there's always more shit to do, and there's always more work that comes up. I have taken something that could be the best thing in the world, like goals and dreams, and I have overdone it, and I have lost myself and didn't feel for 4 years. Like I can take something that's like positive. And just destroy but not until I wake up. It's like I don't, and I've had the things like 9 years in recovery. All of a sudden I had body issues, never had them in my entire life. And I couldn't relate to people that said, oh, I've always had this since childhood. Like that's what a true body dysmorphia or eating disorder. I couldn't relate to that. I never had it till 9 years in recovery. And then I had to do work on that. Like it's like, we just, all human beings, but definitely us in recovery, like we have to be willing to continue to unravel, or else it'll come out in some kind of weird way. Uh-oh, I think I lost Ashley. What's going on with our connection today? Can you hear me still? Doing this. There is no normal. So to Michael's, there is always something to work on. Absolutely. You can hear me. Okay. So I'm still here. I'll wait for Ashley to hop back on, but the importance of, what her and I are talking about. I don't know what's going on with the internet today, but I know there is, like I said, the Mercury retrograde and some astrological things if you're into that, like I am. But, what Ashley and I, she'll call me oftentimes when she has, a client what's working in therapy with her, and she identifies that they, maybe have some additional like life skills support that they need in their personal recovery. If they, like, because, going to therapy once a week is wonderful, but sometimes and oftentimes with people, there's a lot of space in between that week, right? So what is an individual doing in between that time? Let me just see if I can get her back on. What happened? Yeah, and I think that today, how we meet people where they are, there has been historically a big, there was a black and white when I came into recovery. There's a very black and white recovery method. So you do this or you die, and if you don't do this, you can't live. Well, I have honestly seen people, recover and heal in many different pathways. I myself still like 12 step, and I still, I believe in therapy. I believe in anything that makes someone feel better. Hold on, she's having trouble. Try and come back in. Oh, here she comes again. Okay, I'm adding you. Sorry, I don't know what's going on, but I was just still talking on and on. So basically what I was saying was like, when if you identify a client that like needs more work than the 1 hour therapy session that you can provide them, like that's when like somebody like us will come in and support. And then, you'll say what you're working, we get releases signed. You'll say what you're working on clinically with them and what you think needs to be, added by someone on our team. And then we'll follow your steps on what's clinically recommended and implement them. And like, if you're doing extra trauma work or something like that, like let us know, and then we can give them extra support. So I was just touching on some of that, talking by myself, which isn't as cool.
I know all of those things, if that helps. But yeah, that's so helpful for us, because the biggest, scariest thing for me going to private practice was that I didn't have like counselor assistant staff waiting back at residence. If I did really intense work in group or in a session, and then I send them out, I knew they were going to have staff around them. And I don't have that. There's no safety net now unless they have a case manager. So now I have people that I can call and be like, hey, can you check in with them? Or we did this work today. Can you look out for this? And that makes it like an extra layer of protection for sure.
Absolutely. And then, oftentimes, like, we both deal with clients that whether they relapse or maybe they don't qualify they don't clinically, require like inpatient treatment, then there's other ways that we can help people and support people. I mean, treatment is a fantastic first step for a lot of people that may not be what they need, that may not be what's best for them. And, together with, either next steps after treatment, or what do we do when someone's been to treatment a bunch of times? Like, come up and be creative. I'm sure we've talked about multiple cases on this front,
Mm-hmm.
So like maybe share, if you could share an experience of like in place of treatment, or someone that's been to treatment and met for many times, like what you do.
I think there are a lot of people who, they're called retreads in the treatment world, but they have this idea like, well, I can relapse and I'll just go back to treatment. That'll be easy. And there's actually like some mental safety in that. So at some point it becomes like clinically inappropriate to continue to put them back in the same treatment center over and over again. What they're actually struggling with is, how do I make life happen after treatment?
Yes.
So that comes up a lot with like managing medication, or looking at getting a new group of friends, or maybe you need a different job because the stress hits you the exact same way every time and you go right back to your drug of choice, or there's a raging process addiction in the background that didn't get treated. All of that stuff, treatment's great. I'm not bashing it at all. I did it for a lot of my career, but it's not the whole picture.
No, it's a piece, and for many people, it's the life-saving, like we talked about, the
Sure.
that life-saving initial piece. But like oftentimes I feel like the people that come to at least us, and I know sometimes come to you, have done all this stuff, right? And they've done, and it's like the holding, it's like the like our thing is like creating lasting change, like helping implement lasting change. That's what I'm most passionate about. Yes, of course I want you to clean up and save your life today, but like I want you to live a good, happy,
Yeah.
full, fulfilled dream life, that I never thought that I could. And literally some days I pinch myself in tears. I'm like, is this legit my life? Like I should be dead, or, this, like, how did this happen? But I want that for everyone, but I don't want to also work for harder than them to get it. Like I want them to know that they are capable of that and have them step up to the plate and do that work.
Yeah, this life happened for you because you chose to keep digging and keep digging and keep digging and do really intense work on yourself, not just stop using.
Yeah, which sometimes is awful, but always worth it.
Well, I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you too, girl.
Thank you.
Let's chime on that. Let's switch gears for just a moment.
Okay.
Let's talk about what it's like to be a girl's girl. What is
Ah,
that? Because I made a video about you the other day on my Instagram, and that was prompted from you because you kind of put it into light. And I was like, ooh. And then I started thinking about all the ways that how that feels so good to be that way.
because I think women are set up kind of socially to compete with one another. If there's any sort of void of male attention, then we see other women as like they're going to take that away. In a career arena, we see each other as like, oh, don't take my clients, or you're doing better than me, or you have the bag that I want, or whatever. And I'm at a place in my life where loyalty is everything to me, like women and men, but I'm mainly leaning on women in the moment. But women who come alongside of me and are cheering for me and I'm cheering for them, and I completely trust them, and I know that they're speaking nicely about my behind my back, and there's no competition. Tells me that they have the self-esteem to support that. They know that they're doing their own thing. They don't need to compete with you. And it just makes it that like we can run this race together. I think women can do everything.
Absolutely. And like, you know, there's so many things. I don't know. I just used to be the opposite, in my addiction. I was like I only used girls to help me do, awful things, and was never loyal. But like as a, now, and where I am professionally and personally, like it feels good to help another woman shine in and professionally and in leadership, to add to, like, I mean, I'm just going to use this as an example, like knowing like how the fear that like you and your team had with like making social media stuff, like to walk in there and just make your first reel with you. That took no stress off my back, but I've seen now you all like legit run with that. And just knowing that I just helped take off like a tiny piece of fear, and then let you all like let your brilliant talent shine, like that makes me feel good. Like I love that I could be part of that for you guys. And the things that, how you're always sharing our things and always super supportive. Like there's some things that come to some of us more natural than others, but that we can fill in the gaps and like help one another shine,
I
that.
think, yeah, I think the first time I met you, I don't know if you remember this, it was a couple of years ago, but I went to one of your lunches, and the first thing you did was compliment what I was wearing. And then and then when you came in here, you just were vulnerable, and it came from this place of like owning who you were. And I don't know if you felt this, but I was like, be my friend. Like, I just loved you immediately, and you literally are that person. Like you have supported every step of what I'm doing. I hope you feel the same for me. I feel like I can tell you things. I feel like we've got each other's back. We can work cases together, but I can tell you, what's going on in my personal life also. Like that's a girl's girl, and I need you.
Yes, I need you too. And our daughters liked each other the first second time they met one another too. They were like, he's God. But yeah, it's just so important. Like we're working in behavioral health and working in mental health and working with, a lot of sickness. Oftentimes it's just super important for us to stay united with the people that, are on the same journey as us, that feels right, that support us, that lift us. It's just, it means everything to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I do feel that from you and from Brian and from your whole team. I feel nothing but love and support.
everybody has different strengths. And so if we're not competing with each other and we can all work together, then we can get much better results.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny because when I came in there sharing that particular day, the most recent one, not the one years ago, but I was like at the point I was just kind of laughing at myself after shaming myself for like months,
Yep.
and it was like, and I had no idea that it anyway was going to connect with you. It was just like sometimes I have this, I just say whatever. Blake's on here. Blake knows that I literally I have it's happened in the past few years. My vulnerability has come to a whole new level of like stepping into myself and just being who I am, and I just kind of say most things. So oh,
That
Blake
makes
love.
you authentic, though. That makes people trust you because they know that you're just being raw and honest.
Yeah, I don't know what I had to go through to get to that, but the behind the
We all
scenes of,
do.
the behind, like I had someone last night tell me, "Oh my God, yeah, you're so like," I'm like, "Do you know what goes on behind the scenes to have this, like,
Yeah.
like, and it's not pretty. It's ugly a lot of times. It's ugly and it's messy and it's painful. But all of that is like, we don't grow or change if we
Well,
don't go
if
through
you're
it.
putting something about yourself out in the world that's messy or that people could judge, and you're just owning it as like, yes, this is part of my story and this is something that I've grown from, people are going to go behind your back and talk about you for sure. And then some people are going to be like, oh, I love you for that. And those are your people.
That's one. That is such a good clarity and description. That's exactly what I want. If I say what I say and you run and talk about me, good for you. Have fun with it. If I say what I say and you connect with me, then you're definitely my people. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I love that so much. That's so true. I haven't even thought about it like that, but I love that. So like you're building a business. So for anyone out there, like what would you give them as a tip, like that's building a private practice or building a, case management company or trying to, do this work in recovery post treatment? Like what would you say to them?
In terms of building a business, I think, I don't have any sort of business background. Thank God my partner, Brian Gong, is good at technology and he's good at the numbers and he's much more organized than I am. I would say partner with someone who has different strengths than you for sure. But
Yes.
I tell
My
I tell patients that, huh?
Brian's my Blake.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yes.
Yeah, partner with somebody good. But I also think like if you find what you're passionate about and you really love what you do, you can find a way to be successful at that. Like I think if you sit with me in a therapy session, it is very clear that I care about the people that I work with and I care about what I'm talking about. And I think that's why I've been successful because I have a reputation also for being like challenging and confronting with people. Like I believe in therapeutic confrontation with patients and they keep coming back because I think they know like I'm being hard on you because I care.
Because you care. Yeah. And listen, I just like there's good and bad coaches and case management. I've been in therapy since I was 7. There's some not good therapists out there. And I'm super picky. And I tell people that, like when I refer them to someone, I'm like, listen, I am really picky. And if I'm referring you to someone, like, it's just like with anything, like there's good doctors, there's bad doctors, but your heart, like you're saying, your heart and your ability to be like no BS, but come from that place of love. That's what most women need.
Hmm.
Women in recovery need. We need to be loved, but we also need to be held accountable to our BS.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that would be my business advice. Like, find what speaks to you, what lights you up, what makes you feel passionate, educate yourself to the highest degree that you can in it. And then don't be scared, like, oh, I can't do that. That person's doing this thing. Well, that's out of my reach. Like, no, it's not actually. Just keep going.
Okay, I have a good question from David Ludlow, who's my
Okay.
buddy. Can you both speak to what you see as some of the missing parts within case management for substance use disorder and mental health patients? So, like, I see that as what has been missing maybe in the past and would be what we're trying to fill to do differently now, or just in general.
I mean, my answer to that's not going to be surprising. I think we miss these process addictions all of the time. I also think we miss family work a lot. I think we miss involvement of the enablers around them and the original instigators of trauma or the people that are keeping them sick. I think we miss the fact that the whole family needs to heal after addiction robs the family of whatever it's happened.
Yes. I think I absolutely agree with that. I think that like there, like sometimes we'll do some like a facility will refer a individual client to us for case management, and we speak with the family, and then we're like, okay, we can't do this individual unless the family's also willing to do this. You know what I mean? Like we'll set a boundary because we could tell phone call one what's going on there, like, and so we won't, so oftentimes we will turn down if the family isn't, or keep it completely separate. Like if we're going to do the coaching with this person, like the family can't get updates if they're not going to do the work too.
1,000%.
I think what's been like, at least when I contracted under people for years and doing this work for other organizations, and I worked under amazing people and learned a lot of amazing things. I did, however, see that like people's communication and customer service skills were not like up to par. Like I come from the breakers for my customer service skills. Like I believe in 5-star communication and customer service. I believe in team, taking care of your team first. And that way they can take care of the clients best. So I think that how we treat one another, like, I've heard horror stories of other case management companies, like dictating, yelling at programs and dictating care. And like, I am not here to do that. Like, I think the collaboration piece, like knowing, like when I refer to treatment, I trust the treatment team to do their job, and I will support that on my end. If I refer to the therapist, I'm not going to tell you what they need to do for therapy. I'm going to trust you to tell me what's clinically recommended. And of course, so I think the collaboration and the communication between all professionals has been something hugely missed.
Yeah, I think Brian and I got really lucky because that's something that was drilled in our head from day one. And agency life is like you speak to the PO, you speak to the psychiatrist, you speak to the case manager, you speak to the whole family. All of that has been just like bred into us from the beginning, that is what complete care is.
Yes, thank you're very fortunate, but that is not the standard. Like when Blake and I and Sarah send like the kind of file we send before an admission, we all the time here, we've never gotten that. Or with the way we follow up and communicate, like we hear all the time that like this is not, or like we're not getting yelled at. Like we don't, the person AMAs, like we're not yelling at anybody. We're here to like work together. And I think that's something that has been missing, like the collaboration, the involvement and support for everybody that's involved in the picture. Identifying when we're not the right fit and we need somebody else to either jump in. Like we brought a registered dietitian onto our team. So like, because we were using her a lot, but now we just brought her in because we're like, we want to work with us more, So I think just finding the missing pieces and bringing in the right people and not being a one size fits all as a company. I think that's helpful.
And I think the other thing that you mentioned is part of what I've been really passionate about, the taking care of your employees and self-care and making sure that people are having work-life balance and all of that, I think gets missed in this field because the work is life or death. It's easy to run yourself ragged, or for agencies to have you work crazy hours, or for it to be difficult to use PTO or whatever. And I think it's really important to remember that healers need healing. Like I think every therapist, everyone in this field should be in therapy. We should be looking at how is this impacting you? How are you showing up? What are your blind spots? Like I just think it's responsible care.
110%. And like, I know lots of programs and companies that believe in working 24/7 and don't give their people time off if they don't ask for it. Like within we're small, right? So we have obviously a big eye on everything, but like literally Blake and Sarah will say, Amanda, you were taking tomorrow off. Like we can identify that one other. I will say, Blake, you were taking off from after this on Friday till Monday. I'll call his wife and say, do not let him open his computer. Like I make sure, and then same thing with Sarah. Sarah is like, go get her, but she's pregnant. She has a baby. Like we all are that for one another. But I see it in treatment centers, and I see it in people like, I'll answer it at 6 a.m. on a Sunday. I'll answer at 2 a.m. Well, guess what? I will not.
Right.
I will not. And maybe that's shame, whatever. But like, I have boundaries. I put my phone on do not disturb. I set boundaries with families that this is the hours that I'm available. If not, you're welcome to send an email, because I used to have people blowing me up at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, and we have to teach them. So yeah, having boundaries is important, and having a healthy work life balance. Like, I have to, or I can't. Like, recently I just said I can't do dinners for a while. I still want to be invited. It's nice, but I legit can't. I can't do it because it's like the one too many thing that might set me over the edge right now.
Yeah, you need to have downtime to yourself. You and I are both, really passionate about our kids. It's important that they have our full attention and that we're present for them and we're being good moms, way more than my career, and then it's also modeling good boundaries for people to be like, no, I'm not going to take your crisis call at 10 p.m. I'll see you in the morning in your session.
Right, especially when the crisis call sometimes from a family can be, my daughter's shampoo isn't the right shampoo. I swear to God, it was this call. Blake and I were out of town. We were going to see my dad's grave, and we got a call about a mother upset her daughter didn't get her shampoo, and I was like, we have to change how people can have accessibility to us. Like, this is just insane.
Yeah.
Well, but yeah, no, you and I are big on like being present with our children. I think that's another thing I super admire and respect and love about you. Like, I love seeing you with your kids, and my kids are my favorite people in the world, and I feel like you are the same. Like,
I'm obsessed with them.
What is it?
I'm obsessed with them. I love those girls.
Like, I brought my kids on the trip to Aspen, to the work conference out there, and it was like no stress. It was like magical having them with me. And then when we got stuck there, I didn't feel bad that I got stuck away from my kids longer. I had my kids there longer, so it was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
David said, ha ha, we have all had those calls. Yeah, listen, we're in a field that, to kind of sum this up and wrap it up, and I have a couple more questions for you, Ashley, but we're in a field, we're in a space where I think we need to all continue to be open to learn and grow. We need to all be willing to bring in other people when needed, know our lane. Like, I'm not a clinician. I have a clinical advisor on my team that I run everything by that's clinical related. If I'm working with a private practice group, I make sure that anything that's clinical is them, them telling me. Just what would you add to that about kind of people like knowing what they do, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, trusting people to do their specific job and not like micromanaging, but instead collaborating. Like,
Yes.
sometimes what I see clinically is somebody not reporting accurately to me, and a case manager can step in and be like, yeah, but this has been happening in the house all week, and that's incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. Blake, if you're still here, can you put Ashley's website in the chat? If not, I can do it after. But I want people to be able to find you on there. So what do you guys have coming up? What are a couple things? So we talked about, we have Brian's. Can you talk about that a little again towards the end for people?
Yeah, so on June 2nd, Brian's going to go speak at the Keel Center about trauma and addiction. We have a brand new employee named Amy Penny, who we're so excited. She was a clinical director and is also looking for work-life balance because she's a mom, and came and joined our team, EMDR trained, but she also comes trained in sand tray. So she's teaching all of us sand tray therapy, which I'm super excited to learn about.
Awesome.
Now there's 5 of us. We have another female in the building, which I love. And we're just continuing to grow. We're all doing our EMDR consultation together. Tomorrow is when we'll resume again. So just working together and collaborating on cases.
There is someone that's asking, do you offer telehealth or only in person?
Both.
Both. So, okay. Thank you, Blake. Added Mangrove Therapy. You could see their team. They have awesome. I know you all work. We have Brian who works. Not Brian Gong. What's other
Brian?
Brian? What is his name?
Brian Drennan, Claire Fountain, and Amy Penny.
And what does each one of them kind of specialize? Just real quick, what does Brian Drennan specialize in?
Brian's good with adolescents and young adults, like OCD, anxiety, depression. Claire is good with like healthy sexuality, body positivity, body image, trauma, sexual trauma. And then Amy, she describes herself as liking the sad boys. She likes like pervasive depression and adolescent underlying trauma, essentially, like what's causing years of being sad.
Okay. Avoidant.
Yeah.
We get a lot.
Yeah.
We get a lot of avoidant males. So,
Yeah.
um, well, awesome. So, where can people find you besides the website that Blake just put up here? If people want to, like find you guys, where is Mangrove on social media?
It's under Mangrove Therapy on Instagram, on Facebook, on our website. You can email us, mangrovetherapy.com.
Awesome. And is there any final words you'd like to say on next steps after treatment, or the work that kind of both of us do that you'd like to say?
I just love this community that I've gotten to be part of. I love my friendship with you. I love the people that collaborate and care about getting someone to live a happy, full life. And I'm happy to see that there are people that believe in this as deeply as I do.
I love that. Yeah, I'm very grateful you came into my world. You've done nothing but add beautiful, um, you just added to my life since I've met you. You like you when you shared with me that what you thought of me in that long text, like you have no idea. It was like in a moment I really needed that. And so thank you for being vulnerable back with me as I have been to you. And I'm just so, like you said, grateful for people like you in this field, because some are, like every field, there's some not so nice people. And then there's people like you that I don't even see the others.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for the practice you've built and the people you help. And thank you for opening your arms and heart to our team. And we look forward to much more collaboration in the future.
Same here. Thank you. Sorry for any technical difficulties.
I know, sorry. It's honestly, it's the streaming, the live stream. It's a thing. So it's just is what it is. But I will, if you want, Ashley, you can come back in, and if there's anything you wanted to add in the comments or answer anybody's questions, this will be here on LinkedIn, and it'll also be on Facebook. So thank you for your time and energy today. Thank you everyone for your questions and for being here, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.